Cool.
Bruno, my friend, how are you?
Yeah, all good, man. As good as things could be in this type of environment.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Brendan, what's going on?
Not much, man. Just working a lot, but happy to be on the weekend and talking to a good old friend.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yep. So last time I saw Bruno here, it was fall of 2018 in Amsterdam. I was
Yeah.
actually finishing up a trip. I had visited him. He was working outside of Hamburg. Um, so it's been since then for us, Bruno.
It's been a while, dude. We whole Oktoberfest thing, a little bit of
Yep.
travel here and there.
So yeah, I got to visit Bruno when he was working in Germany, and also when he was working in Singapore, since it was while I was in school in China. It's pretty convenient to get out there.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, I used to work for Swire Bulk in Singapore. They're a dry bulk company. And then after 1 year at Swire Bulk, I switched to work for Oldendorf Carriers, which are a German dry bulk company over here in Lübeck and also in Hamburg, Germany. So I was living in Lübeck, have recently relocated to Hamburg. So
Yep. Yeah,
that's the,
exactly. That's why I've been excited to have you on because so Bruno here, he's a graduate of Mass Maritime like the rest of us, and he's the same major as Brendan and I, International Maritime Business. And you're really someone who's taken advantage of the international aspect
yeah,
from
absolutely.
your time at Maritime, to beyond. So if you want to take us through that, we'll interject as we go. Brendan here, he did the exchange in China like ourselves, and then he also worked some time in Singapore. So we'll be able to talk some about that.
Yeah, easy. Yeah. So I'm a Cape guy. So obviously I grew up in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. So Mass Maritime, just being right outside of the Cape, is like a big location for people to go. Obviously, when looking for college careers. So
Yeah, people joke that it's called Cape Cod High.
yeah, essentially it is
Like,
Cape Cod High because everyone you meet is from Falmouth, Sandwich, Yarmouth, Dennis, Chatham, wherever. And yeah, so I obviously just like not being the greatest student ever, openly admitted, I obviously wasn't going to get into anything that wasn't a state college. So I just applied to all the classic, like UMass Amherst, UMass Dartmouth, UMass Lowell, Framingham State, Mass Maritime. And I mean, MMA being the number one choice. Once I got in, yeah, I was just full pressure, and I just took the best of my opportunities. I did IMBU, never thought about changing, I guess. I went through C term right away, realized that the whole sea life wasn't for me. So knew I was moving in the right direction. Junior year, yeah, just like what Matt was mentioning, I got to do the Shanghai Maritime University exchange along with 20 other cadets. So we were able to branch out, meet all these other people who I actually still stay in touch with, a lot of the Ghanaian exchange students and stuff like that. This gave us our first kind of touch of the real international life abroad. Sea term is kind of like a baby steps, you get to see what life at sea is like. And then you get to, see some nice Caribbean islands here and there, but it wasn't like a real taste of what the international life was like. But yeah, man, China was, to say the least, a very interesting and fun experience, I think, for all of us. So this really kind of just gave me an idea of how I wanted to move forward with my career. So fast forward maybe another year, I had one more internship to go. We're required to do, I think, two internships in our degrees at Mass Maritime. So I did one with a company called Transfuel in Ecuador. They're the largest and first private bunker supplier in Ecuador. So I had the opportunity to be there for 3 months. I spent some time in the office as well as a couple of weeks living on board the ship there. The TS Alpha was called. And I got to go up and down the river there in Guayaquil up into Santa Elena and back. And
that's very cool.
yeah, this was a really cool opportunity. So yeah, a couple months in Ecuador.
Practice some Spanish.
Yeah, learn some Espanol, And after that, yeah, we have these like 700 career fairs a year at Mass Maritime. It's like almost every day is a career fair. I don't know how it's possible, but I decided to actually go to one, and I strolled on in, and I met a guy from Marshfield named Ron Salucci, who's a Mass Maritime grad, and he was advertising that they needed some U.S. trainees essentially to beef up their Miami office, which is their North America / South America headquarters. And they're looking for people that spoke multiple languages. My parents are from Brazil, so I speak Portuguese, Spanish, all that nice stuff. And put me on top of the pile on the resume.
And this was for Swire?
This is for Swire Bulk, the China navigation company. Both are interchangeable. They're both the same company. Yep. Then we went to the what were they at? What was it called? The
CMA, like
CMA, right down the street from where
Maritime.
So then they had attended the CMA. So Rosie, who was one of their head chartering ladies in the London office, the headquarters, was visiting the Miami office, and they go to the CMAs obviously to kind of, a lot of the brokers they fixed with are out of Connecticut and Stamford and stuff like that. So they go out there to kind of show some favor.
Where Brendan's at now, Connecticut.
Exactly. Yeah. So Oldendorf's office is also in Stamford. So it's a big area for the North American, at least Northeast maritime industry. So I went to the CMA as a senior, did my in-person interview, you can say, with them there after 2 or 3 interviews over the phone. And then, 3 weeks after graduation, I packed my bags and moved to Singapore.
Very nice.
Pretty crazy, right?
Yeah, so Brendan got his Singapore job right after graduation as well. What was the timing of that, Brendan? Was that like as soon as you graduated, you were moving over there, or?
No, so I was actually pretty lucky. I went through a bunch of interviews with them, and after it all went through, I went into the Boston office where they're headquartered, and they said, hey, if everything goes well, you can kind of work for us in Boston for 3 months, and then when you graduate, go to Singapore. So I was lucky to work and kind of do a lot of my training in December to March, and then I had that last semester to kind of hang out and try and learn as much from my classes as possible, and then I moved right after graduation into working in Singapore.
I got my job in April, and that's like, think about it, guys, it's like 2.5 months of graduation. So I was I was checked out city. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. So got my job in April on the day of my birthday, actually, April 7th.
Very nice.
Pretty dope. Moved out to Singapore, and that was a huge curve. In the beginning, I think like most people, you don't really enjoy moving anywhere that's new to you. I think you'll always find things to complain about, but I think after a couple of months, I kind of settled in, was learning more about my job, more about the dry bulk industry, really actually learning about shipping, because, a lot of Mass Maritime is nice because it kind of gives you the general knowledge you need. And then obviously with internships, you can kind of build a niche into what you're doing. In my case, both my internships had nothing to do with what I was doing in my job. So it was a bit of a curve for me, learning new terminology and stuff like this, but having a general idea in my head of what I was looking at was really nice and really helpful. And that's what MMA will do for you. But I think most of us can go out and say that 95% of what we do learn in our careers is that first job, right? You're in there, and that's kind of what's going to gear you to focus on what you want to look at. So Swire gave me that opportunity to actually fall in love with dry bulk. And Singapore obviously is just a very unique place. It's like the Disneyland of Asia, right? It's shiny, long lines everywhere. Everything's super expensive, but it's a nice place to be.
It's like Asian New York, but having that Singapore experience, it's really like invaluable for a maritime career. It's like truly a hub.
Bro, you have no idea. My first day, so I'd been working in Singapore for a year, right, for Swire Bulk. And obviously you meet loads of brokers, loads of clients, and loads of operators from different companies also. It's not like you're just like, there's none of this competition feel, right? Like we work for different companies, but we're all in the same boat here, no pun intended. And we're all working towards similar goals. And you meet people from all over the place. And my first day in Singapore, or what am I saying, in Lubeck, I'm going up the elevator to my first day, starting my job there in Lubeck. And the first person I see when the elevator doors open is a woman I met at a marine care appreciation party, a chemical supplier. Yeah. And she had also, exactly. Yeah. So they're a big chemical supplier. I'm sure a lot of people in the maritime industry know about marine care. She at the time was working for PCL, had switched over to start working for Oldendorf. And this is when the elevator door opened. Now I'm rounding the corner, and Matt's been in the Oldendorf office. So you go up through the elevator, and on the left you see a bunch of meeting rooms. Yeah, on the left you see a bunch of meeting rooms and like a little round table, and on the right is like the coffee area, and directly in front of you is the pier that I was working in. So I start heading my way over, and I look to the corner of my eye, and Keymoon from Weather News Incorporated, I think a lot of people use W&I, was doing his Europe pitch to the Oldendorf performance team while I was sitting there. And I'd seen a lot of him while I was in Singapore, since obviously he works in the Japan office and he comes down for a lot of business. So it's just crazy how small Singapore is and how kind of important a lot of people you see are. Like, it's really, the maritime industry, especially if you live in Singapore, is one of those industries where you could go to any country on the globe, whether it be Denmark, Norway, Germany, Australia, and I guarantee you that in conversation at a table that you'll have at least one mutual acquaintance or friend in common, you know, between you and the people that you're sitting with. So it's, like you mentioned, a very invaluable experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. I can definitely attest to that. And I was going to ask you a little bit about that, because your next step, you went from Singapore to Germany. I was going to ask, like, how did you kind of get there? From my own experience as well, I remember I had a Sunday that I was just sitting in my pool, and I was talking to a guy from Belgium. He was an oil and derivatives trader for NG Global Markets, who knew another chartering guy that I was friends with. I've gone out and just walking down, because I lived on Club Street in Singapore, which I'm probably sure you knew, all the restaurants and bars that they closed down the street so no cars come in. I remember I was just with my friend who works for a golf company, and then I meet his friend who's a shipbroker for Braemar. I started becoming friends with him and his friends, and that's just all the people you meet kind of walking down the street. That's what's pretty unique about Singapore. So how did you kind of get into Oldendorf? Was it someone you met in Singapore, or?
Yeah, so the global operations manager over at Swire, Jan Hendrik Witt is his name. He's an ex-Oldendorf employee, and he's actually from Lubeck. So he's one of those homegrown Oldendorf guys that they picked up locally, developed. They moved him over to Singapore. Things didn't work out. He kind of found his success somewhere else, and he was like a very supportive, I guess, integral part of me making the jump. And I was looking for something different, and he really helped me kind of push my way towards Oldendorf, because in his words, they were beefing up the Stanford office, and they love having Americans around and stuff like that, and guys that are flexible and guys that are willing to learn. So I just kind of jumped for it. And yeah, from Singapore, I moved to Lubeck, and then after that, it's all history, right? Almost 3 years here, doing 2 years of postfix. So higher department, freight and lay time, stuff like that. And then made my way back to operations recently in August. So yeah, it's been great. It's a really good place for development here. You learn a lot. You're surrounded by the best of the best in our industry. Obviously, Oldendorf being one of the leaders in dry bulk here globally. And yeah, it's a powerful resource to be here at the headquarters. And that's kind of how I made my way here.
That's awesome, man.
Very nice.
So what are some of the things that you like from the dry bulk side? Because I'm kind of doing the same thing just from the chemicals, and I know it's a lot different where you guys have different holds. I have to worry about certain like chemicals that can't be shipped together. So what are some of the things that you found interesting so far?
Yeah, so dry bulk for me, I guess, is just the variable of things, right? I guess every operator, depending like on what industry you're in, has the same job essentially, right? You have to plan bunkers, you have to maximize the voyage, you have to speak with agents, you have to talk with cargo receivers, and blah, 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 blah. And I think that the most interesting part about dry bulk was definitely the variety of cargoes that you carry. So it's always a guessing game. You're not in the same routine, you know. You do 27 coal voyages in a row, and then chartering guy one day goes, "Hey, how many days do you need to get her ready to load grains out of out of South America?" And you're like, you know, after these 5 or 6 coal voyages we've done without cleaning anything, it might be about 25 days to get this thing clean. So it's the curveball. You have a ton of variety, and then I think this also transcends, I guess, later on, because you're adaptable, right? I think in the future, a lot of companies aren't going to be looking at your resume, CV in terms of your education. They're going to look for trades. I think that a really good thing about being in shipping is that you're adaptable, no matter what industry you're in. Okay, in dry bulk, maybe a little more than some others, right? On this kind of cargo variety, but yeah, you are adaptable, which means that if one day Matt or you decides to kind of move up into a completely different industry, like it wouldn't be the first time that you've had to adapt to change very quickly. And we see this with all the new regulations in place and just adapting to all the continuous, environmental concerns we have in the maritime industry, sustainability and things of this nature. So this is why I like dry bulk, because I can be as adaptable as possible, and I don't necessarily have to stay as an operator with the knowledge I have. I can do a variety of different other jobs. So yeah, I'm very, very happy. You get to learn about commodities, right? You get to kind of, if one day I decided I wanted to be a commodity trader, it's like all the knowledge I already have of coal and grain and iron ore can obviously help me attain that goal. I mean, that's not where the vision's at now, but just an example.
Yeah,
Definitely.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, just knowing the maritime industry puts you in a real versatile spot. You can
Exactly.
branch out so many different ways.
Yeah, as an operator, you just really have a general idea of everything. You're not like a specialist in anything, but you have a general idea of what bunkers are like, of what cargoes are like, of what being an agent is like. And it's easier for you to kind of branch off into this big tree that is the maritime industry. There's so much involved and intertwined in what we do day to day that it's almost impossible to kind of have like a generic definition of what an operator is, whether it's from tankers to dry bulk. It's a very unique industry.
Yeah, so I was curious, technically the both of you work in operations, but what does that technically mean for the both of you? Like, how do your jobs really vary? I mean, outside of the different trades, different industries?
I guess they really don't. I think at the end of the day, he's a problem solver and I'm a problem solver, right? And as much as we try to, maximize profits on a voyage, because a majority of what you do there is you solve problems on the spot. You have to be a quick thinker. You have to be able to work with a team, because it's not this isn't a job where everything's written in a textbook and you can just look in and there's an equation there that's going to help you solve XYZ of what you need to do. It's collective working, because I might know more than on a certain subject, but then Brendan might know more than what I know on another subject. So we're kind of all bouncing off each other, and it's a team job as much as it is an individual job. So I think obviously some people might have more experience than others on the commodity, but at the end of the day, there's not much to differentiate what I do and what he does.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more on that. I mean, another thing I want to talk about just on the podcast and hammer it home is how interesting our industry really is. Like, I could start out my day talking to a bunker supplier in Singapore. By the time it's afternoon time, like lunchtime, I'm talking to someone in Dubai, and then I could finish my day talking to someone in South America. Every single day is different. Every single day is really interesting. And I think that's what makes us, I mean, I really like my job. You seem like you really enjoy it. I know Matt is doing great down in Virginia as well. So
yeah, man, it's obviously kind of hard to settle into the whole idea of you're on call 24/7 and something goes wrong. You got to be there to kind of kick your butt into gear and get things done. But once you kind of get past this point and you get into this real kind of learning push, you realize how invaluable that job is, that it no matter what you want to do, whether it's chartering to being actually on the principal side and being a broker, your knowledge and operations is literally, there's no value to that. It is amazing. It's going to help you wherever you need to go.
Because you get the broad overview of how everything works. You get to work with the charters, you work with the traders, you work with some of the cargo receivers, the agents, you understand how everything works. Yeah. And from what I've heard from people who even own companies, they've said that the best charters, the best traders, and the best senior brokers are guys that started in operations.
Or in ops, yeah.
That's good for us.
I mean, we come from a very weird time of shipping where there's this firm divide between operations and chartering. Yeah. Back in the day, 20, 30 years ago, a lot of guys that you'll meet went straight into chartering. It wasn't the same way it was now. In my view, I see us level. right? Like
Yeah.
I don't see chartering anything above ops, because a good chartering manager is nothing without a good operator, right?
Exactly.
So the more that you can kind of learn to work together, and shipping, realistically, this ops chartering bubble, you can say, you have to work together and you have to be more team orientated than you are an individual. And this is where you kind of see really successful companies build up, right? It's this atmosphere of working together and not having this divide between, you know, I'm chartering, talk to me with a certain tone. You know, this does happen in companies. It's not unrealistic, right? So the best companies I'd say out there are the ones that that view chartering and ops kind of on the same playing field. It's more of where you decide to go, whether it's commercial and really dealing with ship owners and cargo owners, and really being on kind of the operation side. It's a personality thing.
Yeah. I mean, completely understand and completely get that. And even to just swing it a little bit more into the next thing of, so like, where are you thinking about going next? Like, I know personally, I just came back from living in Asia, and I can't stop thinking about moving back to Singapore or moving to another shipping hub from here. So what's been on your mind lately?
Yeah, I mean, for now, I think I just got this opportunity to sit here and do the ops here in Hamburg. So I could see myself doing this for, I guess, 3, 4, 5 years, however long they need me to do it. But the ultimate goal would be more on the chartering side and help expand, I guess. I would love to go to the Stanford office and kind of help expand that market over there. I think this is something that a lot of companies are trying to open in their North America offices, and Stanford is to kind of train up U.S. guys in their headquarters, bring them back home, and with that knowledge, kind of help them beef up the industry. And I would love to do that with Oldendorf. I mean, whether or not I get the opportunity is completely up to me, right? I have to prove myself like a lot of other people, but this would be the ultimate goal for sure. Yeah.
Very nice.
Very nice. So yeah, how about you guys? How's everything working? Working?
Things are good. Yeah, down in Virginia. So Colin and I, we're finishing up our fast track rotation. It's been 18 months now. So transferring into our official positions, I'm going to be in the claims department.
Nice.
So yeah, similar to you, like just working our way into it, getting it started like in a couple months. And so really this position, you know, the longevity, it could be a year, 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah, exactly.
But after that, it's like, who knows, just figuring it out. Could take it, you know, dive deeper into the legal aspect of the maritime world through the claims
Super
department.
interesting aspect, I would say, dealing with
Or
clubs.
take some of that experience, switch it over to operations. Like we're saying, it's just the versatility is just amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible for sure. I think
good.
it's something that a lot of people don't really realize once before they get into these jobs, right? It's like when you are a young adult with a college degree in your hand and you decide to start applying for jobs, it's not something that you kind of really realize until you're there, how versatile the industry that you're in is. You know, as an international maritime business student, graduate, you can say, there's a lot more to your degree and to your opportunities than you could ever imagine, I guess, when you put those dress whites on and walk across that stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's amazing how, you know, just out of the three of us and even everyone else involved in the podcast, we've all had a similar experience to where we graduated, we started working. And that's kind of why I went to maritime. Like, that's what you always hear.
Yeah, I think that's having 100 degrees is great, right? But you have to think how sustainable it actually is. And I think that a lot of us can agree that a master's degree isn't necessarily something that you 100% need in the maritime industry, but your experience, like we mentioned before, is invaluable. And once you graduate and get to work and you pick up that experience, it's a lot more useful to you than, I guess, that additional college degree. I think that especially in dry bulk, speaking from what I see, you have a lot of people that don't have degrees. A lot of what they do in Germany is apprentice programs. Yeah. You don't have to get a college degree. You do a 2-year, they're called Azubis. They rotate through all the departments. In the end, they evaluate them and they still kind of take exams. You don't get a college degree. You also don't even necessarily pay for the certificate. The company gives you kind of a small salary. They're supported by the government. And in the end, it's like almost joining a trade, right? You could be a plumber or you can be a vessel operator. You know, this is how it works kind of on the German side. And we have plenty of those guys in the office as well. So experience matters.
Yeah, it's a good deal.
Yeah.
That's like another purpose of the podcast is just to kind of be a resource for some of those people who are coming in the industry, you know, not having a maritime academy background and having that community. So kind of giving them some insight that they wouldn't necessarily have, because it's crazy. A lot of people I work with, you think you'd look around and everybody would be from a maritime academy, but it's really just people who have got the experience and, you know, got the knowledge just from working there for such an extended time and just really soaking everything in.
And who's a good example of that is my roommate that you know, my ex-roommate, Dylan Swacker.
Yeah, I wanted to mention.
University of Arkansas, moved to Spain, got an economics degree, and then one day decided to gear up and go to Swire through some family connections. And that guy is great at what he did in ops and chartering. And
I was going to say, we have to have you back sometime with Dylan. He would be another great guest. I just got a notification from Zoom. I think our time's wrapping up here.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. Hopefully we didn't kind of ramble on into the unknown for –
No, it's exactly what it's here for.
Haven't had dinner yet, so
just a couple glasses of wine.
Yeah, just a couple glasses of wine. Dinner's sitting on the stove now. So, yeah, guys, I appreciate it. It was great to see you.
Thanks for your time, Bruno. Good to see you. Good night in Germany. Good afternoon in Connecticut, Brendan. All right, take it easy, guys. Thank you.
Have a good one.